Okay, so this is going to be one of the most important videos you ever watch in this program, and trust me, you're going to want to watch this multiple times. I'm talking that like 2, 5, 10 times, at least one time a week, just like the chat closing script, because this, when done right, is going to make you a ton of money, okay? So, with that being said, let's get right into it. In today's video, we are going over the closing call script and framework, okay? So, what I recommend is follow the framework when going through calls because it's going to sound a lot more natural. And then the script is so that you can see my exact language pattern on like what type of words I say, just so that you know how to kind of like emulate what I'm doing, right? But when in reality I follow the framework, you should probably follow the framework. The framework is just basically an easier way to remember the script without having to know it word for word. Okay. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Okay. So we gone over a lot of closing call strategies already. Now it's time to go into the actual script, what exactly to say, okay? So how we actually frame this is I actually learned this from one of my mentors, Talking More. He allowed me to actually share this with you guys. I've obviously put my own twist, put my own spin on things. I've taken thousands of calls on what works and what doesn't. So it's not exactly like his, but it is kind of similar. So I just wanted to put that out there. All right, so that being said, we call it the 9 boxes. All right, and so I'm going to label them right now, and I'm going to go in depth on each of them as we go throughout this video. All right, so we're going to have report, we're going to have agenda, we're going to have why they're on the call. All right, and then I'll go over each of the boxes as we continue going. All right, so let's go over report right now. All right, so I'm going to go over the script first, and I'm going to show you guys the framework to remember it better. All right, so before I even go into anything about the script, one thing I want you guys to realize is this closing call is not an interview, okay? So we want to make sure we're not just going straight to the next question. We want to acknowledge and relate to everything they say or give them some type of, or give this appropriate response, okay? So I'll give you an example. Let's say I were to ask like, so how much are you making right now? And then how much do you want to be making? What's slowing you down? Is this a priority for you? If I ask all those questions without any type of filler in between the questions, it sounds very robotic and like an interview, and then our clients or our prospects is not going to feel like we really understand. So the best way to avoid that, or the best way to avoid that is to make sure that we're acknowledging and relating to all their emotional responses, right? So how do we do that, right? So anytime they give it an emotional response, where like they talk about like their vision, or like their fears, their aspirations. Remember, the 4 forces, fears and aspirations. If they talk about those, or if they talk about roadblocks, like what's really slowing them down, like example, like their frustrations, etc. Right? If they talk about their frustrations, their fears, or their aspirations, exactly how we went in module 2, make sure you acknowledge what they said. Don't leave anything they said unacknowledged, right? The reason why we do that is because anytime you leave anything unacknowledged, let's say your prospects, they want to lose weight, they want to gain more confidence, and they want to look good for their spouse. If you only talk about losing weight, but you don't acknowledge that they want to be more confident, and you don't acknowledge that they want to look good for their spouse, they feel like you're not listening, and then once they feel like you're not listening, they feel ignored, they don't feel understood, and they're not going to buy from you. So really, really important, acknowledge everything your prospect says, all right? Number 2 is you want to relate, all right? So this shows that you understand what they're going through, and it builds even more commonality, more rapport, and more trust, right? So how you do that is you give a story, just a quick story of yourself or your clients. So example, if a prospect told me that they really want to gain more confidence in themselves and they want to look good in the mirror, I'll talk about how I used to not be confident, how I used to hate when I looked in the mirror until I did my proven strategies and formulas, and now I like the way I do right now. So don't worry, I was in your same exact position. You just need to know the right answers or something like that, and then boom, right? So it's just a little relate story. Or number 2 is you could talk about your clients. So example, if you have a prospect who says, oh, damn, like I really want to look good to get more girls or something like that. You can talk about, yeah, like my client, blah, 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 wasn't getting any girls before working with me. He didn't really have the confidence, didn't really look good. And then we started working together. He got my coaching. He looks amazing, and now he's getting all the girls in the world. So I totally understand where you're coming from. Boom. So you guys see where I'm coming here? So we're not telling them how to solve the problem. We're just telling like a story of how we or our client overcame the same thing. Okay? So that, and then finally lean in is just asking the next question or going deeper, asking like why. Okay? We're gonna go over that later in the script, don't worry. All right, and then for logical responses, this is basically like where they are right now, right? So example, if it's like a current situation question where like they say like, yeah, I'm at 160 pounds, or like I'm at 170 pounds right now, I'll just be like, okay, and then move on to the next question. Or like if someone thinks like they're the shit, or like if someone thinks they're like a big deal, like yeah, like I'm 130 pounds lean, like I'm super lean, I'll be like, oh, only 130 pounds? I thought you weighed less. All right, so you guys see what I did there? The O, like you just say, oh, only blank, or okay, right? And this shows that they're not a big deal. You seem better. It just, trust me, it works, right? It just shows, it just keeps your ego in check, okay? And again, don't worry, we're gonna go over how to use these in just a bit, but I just wanted to inform you guys, don't be a robot. Use, like for emotional and roadblock responses, acknowledge, relate, and lean in. For logical responses, always use the, oh, only blank, or okay, and the next question, right? So let's keep going. Let's go to report, all right? So report is like gonna be the first minute of the conversation. So a lot of people think like you have to build rapport by talking about like their family and their dogs and like talking about their personal life for 5 to 10 minutes. So we like to keep the report within 1 minute because it's honestly not too important. We just want them to be responsive and engaged, and we want to take the wheel and take control of the conversation right away. So here's how it basically works. So once they hop on the call, let's say 3, 2, 1, I'll just be like, hey, this is Renzo Guevara, this is John, right? Hey, this is first name, last name, this is John. And notice how I say that. I say that in like a question format. So I don't say that as a statement like, hey, this is Renzo Guevara, this is blank. I say that as a question like, hey, this is Renzo Guevara, this is John. The reason why I say that is because when you use that tonality, think about when you use that tonality in your everyday question. When you ask a question, it makes the other guy think, right? So if I ask you like, hey, do you like the capital of Virginia? You're gonna think about it, right? Because of that tonality. Or like, hey, is this guy's name? Or like, hey, this backpack's green. Or like, hey, this watch is yellow. Hey, this watch is gold. You're gonna think about it, right? So you saying like, hey, this is first name, last name. You saying your name as a question makes them think about it, and so now they're already engaged in the conversation, right? Really, really key. And then you're just gonna say, is this John? Or like, is this whatever their name is? They're gonna say, yes, this is blank. And then I'm gonna say, hey, how are you doing today? Once they say like, I'm good, 9 times out of 10, they usually ask you how you're doing. So then I'm gonna say like, not gonna lie to you, my man, I only got 4 hours of sleep and I'm onboarding clients all morning. By the way, I'm a little curious, where are you from? So do you guys see what I did there? I built social proof, right? I said I only got 4 hours of sleep, I've been onboarding clients, so that's social proof in motion. And we're gonna continue with the report by asking, by the way, I'm a little curious, where you're from. All right, once they ask where you're from, then we're going to talk about location, or we're going to talk about the location. So like, if you don't have anything in common about the location, just skip this part. But if you have something in common with the location, or what I like to do is I like to research my prospect's profile, and I like to look if I have any commonalities based off their bio or based off their content, right? So like, if a prospect is has a computer science degree, or was an engineer, or went to San Diego, or likes to travel, or plays basketball, or anything like that, I like to look at their profile first so that I could bring it up in this section, right? So example, let's say like the prospect loves videography. Like I love videography. So I would be like, so I got you, so by the way, I'm a little curious, where are you from? There'll be like, example, like Seattle. I'll be like, okay, awesome, man. I'm actually based in Chicago right now. And by the way, I like looked at your profile and I saw you are super passionate videography. Me too, man. I absolutely love videography. I got a ton of connections. Definitely love to introduce you. And then they just make a comment like, oh, really? Like that's super cool. And then I'll be like, yeah, man, for sure. And then by the way, I got you down for like a quick 45-minute chat, blah, 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 blah. Right? So you don't want to go too deep into the affinity, but it is kind of key to build affinity, because when you do build that, it builds that know, like, and trust right away. And so when you have that commonality, and like you guys have that bond already, he's gonna be more open to what you have to say, right? Think about like if someone was fans of your favorite sports team, you'd be like, damn, I already instantly have a connection. I would love to be friends with that guy. So it's the same thing here. If you can find some type of commonality or affinity based off their profile, doing your research beforehand, it's gonna lead to a lot more massive results. Okay. So we keep going. And then finally, got you down for a quick 45-minute chat on my calendar, just brainstorm some ideas and work out a plan. Have I got the time right? They said yes. Because we only have about 45 minutes and I do have another call booked right after this, is a cool if we get right into it. All right, the reason why we do this is, one, we want to set expectations that this is going to be a 45-minute chat. So the last thing you want to do is have a prospect hop in and only think it was like 15, 20, or 30 minutes, and then they have to leave the call early and you don't get the close, right? Because this process is going to take about 45 minutes. So you need to set expectations like, hey, this is going to be 45 minutes. Then the second line is it shows more social proof, like, hey, I do have another call booked after this, so social proof. And also number two, a little urgency. Like, you don't want your prospects to be babbling on and on and on, just talking and talking and talking and not getting on to the point, because you're going to be wasting your time and maybe the call is going to go longer. So setting expectations that it's 45 minutes and you do have another call booked allows the conversation to flow a lot smoother and a lot faster, okay? So once you do report, I'm just going to quickly build out the framework so that you guys have an easier time to remember. So remember, name as a question, and then is this blank? And then you're going to ask how you're doing. You're going to say 4 hours of sleep. You're going to ask where you're from, affinity, and then basically we call it the 45 minutes times 2, where you say the 45-minute thing, or where there's 2 lines of 45 minutes, okay? And so that's how you build report, and that should take about 1 to 2 minutes. Probably I'd recommend a minute, okay? Let's keep going to agenda. So then we want to set the agenda. Why is the agenda important, right? So think about like some random homeless guy. No offense to them, but think about a random homeless guy walks up to you on the street and says like, yo, put your hand in this box. And the box is totally black. You don't know what's inside the box. Would you put your hand inside that box? Probably not, right? But let's say it was a clear box and there was like $1,000 in that box. And he's like, yo, put your hand in this box. Would you do it? I probably would. I know you probably would if there was no risk. So it's kind of the same thing here. You want to be really, really transparent on what's going to happen in the call. Also, be kind of like sticking your hand in the black box, not really knowing what's inside the box, right? So here's how we make it transparent, and here's the best way to do it. I'll say is like, so how these calls usually go is I'll just ask you a couple questions to see if we're a good fit to work together. And if I think we're a good fit, I'll let you know what we have to offer, how it works, and everything. You just have to let me know at the end of the call if you want to be a part of it or not. Fair enough? Right? They say yes, fair enough. And then I'll be like, all I ask is at the end of the call to give me a definitive yes or no. Is that cool? Right? So why do we say that? Okay, so number one is we make it really, really transparent. Right? So I'll ask you a couple questions to see if we're a good fit to work together, because that's actually true. And if I do think we're a good fit, I'll let you know what we have to offer, how it works, and everything. So why do I say that? To let them know there is going to be an offer in the end. To let them know I am going to pitch him in that. But that's okay, because I made it transparent. And then I just said, you just have to let me know at the end of the call if you want to be a part of it. And then boom. So he knows he has to make a decision at the end of the call. And then just a little bit more assurance to make sure that he actually makes a decision. Like, I never want my prospect to think throughout the call. They can think about it and not make a decision. So I make it really, really clear. All I ask at the end of the call to give me a definitive yes or no. Is that cool? Right? So that's basically all there is to it. If they do ever say, like, I don't know if I could give you a definitive yes or no, I'll just be like, okay, cool. I'll be like, okay, cool, John. So the reason why I asked to give me a definitive yes or no is because I'm a firm believer how you do anything is how you do everything. So obviously, if I let you think about anything about this decision, you're not going to see the best results because you're going to push things off toward later. You already built that bad habit of pushing things off toward later, the next day, the day after, instead of taking action today on this call, if of course everything made sense. And that's the last thing I want you to do. I want you to be an action taker, a guy who actually makes decisions, a guy who actually sees results by taking action instead of pushing things off toward later. Does that make sense? He likes, yeah, that makes sense. And I'll be like, okay, sweet. So is it cool if you give me a definitive yes or no at the end of the call? And then boom. So basically, you just want to frame it. Anytime they say, I can't give you a definitive yes or no, just frame it like you only work with action takers. How you do anything is how you do everything. If you let them push off the call, then you're already letting them down by building that bad habit of taking action later instead of today. And you only work with action takers today. All right, does that make sense? All right, I hope you got some value out of that. So let's go into the framework again. So basically for agenda, you're going to tell them you're going to ask a couple questions. You're going to tell them what happens if it's a fit. You're going to let know, let them know about the offer, and then if he wants to be a part of it or not, if a part of it or not, right? And then finally, I like to put an emphasis on making sure you get the definitive yes or no commitment, right? Because the last thing we want to do is have our prospects think about it at the end of the call instead of giving us a good answer. All right, so let's go into why. All right, so now that we established rapport, we set expectations with the agenda. Now it's time to talk about why are they on this call, right? Like what really motivated them to hop on the call? Because nobody just hops on the call or takes 45 minutes out of their day unless they have a serious problem. And so we want to identify that problem right away so that this is more of a mentor-student relationship than a friend-to-friend relationship, okay? So here's how we do it. So I'll be like, so with that being said, my first question to you is what really drove you to take the time out of your day and to hop on this call with me today? All right? So perfect world, they're going to give you a deep answer and you can move on to the next step. But sometimes life isn't perfect. So if they talk about you and not their situation, you could say, my ego loves everything you're saying, John, but what I'm more curious about is what's really going on in your world right now that makes right now the right time to talk about this. Why not last year? Why not 2 years from now? Like, what's really going on in your world that makes right now the right time? Right? Again, it's really, really cool for them to talk about us, but what we're a lot more curious about is where they are or like what's going on right now, because that's a deeper problem about why they're on the call. Okay? And now let's say they talk about like let's say they did tell you why they need to do this now, but they didn't really go deep with their answer. So here's what I normally say for that. Gotcha, name. So listen, if we want to get results, we have to go deep. The deeper we go with your answers, the better results you're going to get out of this call. So that being said, what's really going on in your world right now that makes right now the right time to talk about this? Like, why not last year? Why not 2 years from now? Like, what's really going on in your world that makes right now the right time to talk about this? All right. So let's go over here. Oh, come on now. So for why, basically, it's you either get a perfect deep answer or they talk about you, but not now, or they don't go deep with their answer, right? One of those three scenarios, you know exactly how to handle it. Okay, and so this whole section right here should take about 5 minutes. The report, agenda, and why, right? And so this builds trust. So this is the first part of the closing call, right? So that was the easy part. Now it gets a little trickier, but don't worry, we got you. It's gonna be a piece of cake. All right, so now that we have established trust, wow, that is a really bad handwriting with trust. Let me redo that real quick. So now that we have established trust, it's time to actually do what we call stretch the gap. So we're gonna talk about their current situation, we're going to talk about their desired situation, and then we're going to talk about their roadblocks. Okay? So, for their current situation, here's how the script grows. And this kind of goes with the emotional or roadblock responses and the logical responses. So let's go over it right now. So I'm going to say, so let's talk about your current situation. And then this is going to vary depending on your niche, depending on your industry. So I gave a couple of fitness examples since most of our clients are in the fitness niche. But again, if you're like in the business scene or if you're in the dating scene or if you're in the life coaching scene or in the agency scene, you probably know how to handle it. It's just model the questions toward what you want to do. All right, so you want to ask situation and problem-using questions. So situation questions are basically like data questions, like are you working out right now, or like what type of workouts do you do, or like what's your schedule like just like questions to know about the situation. And then problem-inducing questions are questions about like that cause problems, like it's trying to expose them. So like what type of workouts are you doing right now? Like if they're not doing a workout, that exposes they're not doing a workout. Or like, are you on a workout or nutrition plan at the moment? No? Oh, okay. So like, you want to ask questions that kind of poke holes so that exposes like they're not doing what they should be doing, right? So I'll be like, how much weight are you losing or gaining at? Or how much weight are you losing at the moment? Oh, you're not losing any weight? Oh, so obviously you're not making any progress at the moment, right? So do you guys see what I'm doing here? So situation questions are kind of like asking about the situation. And then problem-inducing questions are like poking holes and like stirring the knife to make sure that they know they have a problem, right? So, example, what type of workouts are you doing right now? Just like, oh, I'm not doing any workouts. So I'll be like, oh, so you're not making any progress in your fitness journey right now, is that right? Like, no. Or like, I'll be like, are you on a workout or nutrition plan? And they say no. I'll be like, so like you're not really working on your goals right now, is that right? They're like, oh no. So do you guys see what I'm doing here? It's just poking holes and producing problems, right? And then once we don't have to go deep into the emotions just yet, but again, for these type of responses, use the logical response, right? The oh onlys or the okay. I'd be like, oh, only, oh, so you're not doing any workouts. Or like, oh, so you're not really making any progress. Or like, oh, so you're not really on a diet plan right now. You guys see what I'm saying here? And again, if you're like in the business scene, life coaching scene, or dating scene, you guys know kind of how to model toward your specific industry. All right? So once you go over situation and problem-inducing questions, then we want to get a specific number. All right? So do not move on with the script unless you get that specific number, because it's going to be really, really hard to actually make a sale or actually make a selling point unless you have a clear point A. Because the reason why prospects buy is because they're at point A and they want to be at point B, and they don't know how to get from point A to point B. But if we don't have a specific point A, there's no sale because now there's no clear gap and there's no clear reason why they should buy from you. So we need a specific number. Do not move on without a specific number. So example, in the fitness niche, it would be like, so what is your weight at the moment, right? You don't have to like beat around the bush, just ask like, so what is your weight at the moment? Or like, if you're like a strength coach, be like, how much are you benching at the moment? Or like, how much are you squatting at the moment? Or example, if you're a business coach, like how much money are you making right now? Or like, what's your monthly revenue right now? Or what's your monthly profit right now? Or if you're a dating coach, let's say like, so like what was like your, or like, so let's see, for dating coaches, like let's say you're trying to like meet as many women as possible. I'd be like, so like how many girls are you talking to per night? Or like how many girls are you talking to per week? Something like that, right? You just want a specific number so that you have a clear point A. Do not move on without a clear point A, all right? So let's go over the framework about current situation. So again, you're just gonna do situation questions, and then problem-inducing questions, and then finally you need that specific number, right? And this part should take about 5 minutes. All right, so let's go over desired situation. So now that you know the current situation, here's how to transition it. So obviously we know where you are right now. You're at whatever specific number they said, at example 180 pounds. So let's talk about where you want to go. 12 months from now, if everything went exactly the way you want it to be, where would you want to be both blank and blank wise? So I like to say personally and professionally because I'm in the business scene. Let's say you're in the fitness scene. I would say like, where would you want to be both fitness and lifestyle wise? Or where would you want to be in both fitness and confidence wise? Or like, let's say you're in the dating scene. Where would you want to be both dating and lifestyle wise? Or where would you want to be in both dating and relationship wise? You just want two of your major categories. One being more logistical and then one being more emotional. So I like to say personally and professionally because personally is more emotional, professionally is more logical. If you're into fitness, like I said, where would you want to be in terms of like fitness and confidence? Because fitness is more logical, confidence is more emotional. Or you could do fitness and lifestyle. Lifestyle is also more emotional. You guys get what I'm saying here, right? So once we go over that transition, okay, so here's where we go, right? So there's two different paths we could take here. If the prospect gives you a specific number first, so example, if a prospect says like, yeah, I really want to be at 180 pounds or I want to be at 140 pounds so I can feel more confident and I can feel more alive and get more energy, then here's what I would say, right? I would go a little deeper. I'd be like, okay, I'm curious. So like, what's the deep motivation to getting to like 140 pounds and feeling more confident? Like how would life be different if you got to 140 pounds or more confident? All right. Another thing you could do is you could ask who, right? I'd be like, who else would benefit from you being more confident, more alive, right? Or like, who else would benefit from you being at 140 pounds? And then other things are like, what other opportunities would open up if you got to blank, right? So I'd be like, what other opportunities what other opportunities would open up if you had more confidence, you had more self-esteem of yourself? Do you guys see what I'm getting here? Like you can go deeper on any of the things he talks about if he tells you your desired number first, okay? But let's say they go with an emotional motivation first. So let's say they don't talk about the weight, but they go straight into like confidence and like lifestyle or anything more emotional, right? So, example, let's say the prospect says, I really want to look good in a bikini. Like, let's say it's a woman. I really want to look good in a bikini. I want to feel more attractive. I want to feel more alive. I want to feel more confident, right? So, optional, she already told you all the emotional reasons. You could go even deeper if you wanted to. You could be like, who else would benefit if you felt more confident, more attractive? Or like, what other opportunities would open up if you felt more alive and more free? Or like, I'm curious, like, what's the motivation to wanting to be free? Like, what's the motivation to wanting to look good in a bikini? You could always go deeper, so this is optional. It's already deep, but you could go deeper if you want. It doesn't hurt. And then this is actually what's more powerful. So this is what I actually prefer, is for them to give me an emotional reason first, because now we could use money or we could use a specific number as a reality factor, right? So example, let's say we're talking about the same woman, like the same hypothetical woman. I would be like, so you want to achieve looking good in a bikini and looking attractive and really, really feeling more confident, alive, and free. So let's make this a reality then. Like how much would you need to be, or how much would you need to weigh in order to achieve that confidence, that aliveness, that freeness? And then boom, and it's all of a sudden possible in her mind once she reaches that specific number, right? So you guys see how powerful this is. Now it shows that all her dreams, all her aspirations can actually be real because of a number she thought of in her head. That's how powerful this is. So that's why we kind of frame it this way, right? So I love when prospects tell me their emotional motivation first, because when you're able to use their weight or their money or like whatever specific number factor that you use as a reality factor, super, super powerful, okay? So let's go into the desired situation. We're gonna go the 12 months question. We're gonna go decision. And then we're gonna use the specific number reality factor. And again, this should take about 5 minutes. All right, and then once we have roadblocks, then once we go through the desired situation, now we're gonna talk about roadblocks. Okay, so here's how you transition. So I'll be like, so obviously we know where you are right now at 180 pounds, and you want to be at 160 pounds to look more confident, feel more attractive, to be more alive, to be more free. So what's really slowing you down from achieving 160 pounds? Okay, so you're going to replace the first blank with their specific number of their situation. You're going to replace the second blank with their desired situation, specific number. The third blank you're going to replace with their emotional motivations for getting to that specific number. And then the fourth blank you're going to replace with, again, their desired situation, specific number. All right? So then you're going to ask, what's slowing you down from figuring this out on your own? Okay? Because if you don't get this right, if our prospect thinks that they could do this on their own, they have no reason to buy from you. And I hate to say this, you're not going to get the sale if they think they could do it on their own. So here's the thing, right? If they say nothing, or if they don't say something about they don't know how to get there, they want to get there faster, or they want a proven system, then we got a problem, okay? So how we fix this is we use this objection right here. We take the call away. We're like, gotcha, man. So I guess there's no real point in having this call then. You'd be like, what? What do you mean? Well, you told me that nothing is stopping you from figuring this out on your own, so why don't you just do it then? We're like, no, like I really need your help. Or like, no, like maybe I want to get there faster. Or like, no, I just want a proven process. So this, like us taking the call away actually makes them want it more, and then they admit that they need our help. All right, so that's what I usually say if they think they could do it on their own, and that way it's not an objection later on in the call. Okay? So once we get through that, then we're going to talk about we're going to go deeper into their current situation and their roadblocks, right? So I'm going to say, so I know you're an ambitious person, by the way, and I know you're never going to stop growing, but let's say in an alternative universe, you're never able to figure this out, and you're always stuck at around 180 pounds. What would that mean for you? Right? And so this shows them that their situation sucks, and their situation's not good, and they have to get out of the situation. But we can't tell them their situation sucks. You got to make them conclude on their own their situation sucks, which is what this question does. You could also see what we do here is we frame it like, I know you're an ambitious person, and I know you're not going to stop growing. But let's say like in a hypothetical alternative universe, you're never able to figure it out, right? Because what you're going to find is if you don't frame it that way, a lot of your prospects are going to say, oh, I'm never going to get stuck. Or like, I'm going to figure it out no matter what. So you want to frame it this way so that you get less of that. You're still going to have that. You're still going to have people say like, I'm never going to give up. I'm going to find a way. But this helps you prevent that most of the time. All right. So once we get that, then we go into priority questions. So I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this already, but is this a priority for you or something you want to fix 3 to 4 months from now? And let's do prior answer to this already. All right. So if they say late, most of the time they're going to say this is a priority. Like I want to do this now. But sometimes you're going to have people say like, oh, I want to do this later. I want to do this 3 to 4 months. So we went over this in the chat closing script, but it's the same thing here. You're just going to say, gotcha, James. What's the difference between today and 3 to 4 months ago? What's the difference between today and later? They're going to say, and then you're going to say, I for sure name, life definitely gets busy, but what me and my clients best found is that the best time to solve something is when you're busy. Because when life gets easier, life will be a breeze. But the second life gets hard, you fall off. And that's the last thing I want you to do. Does that make sense? They say, yeah, that makes sense. And I'll be like, okay, so with that in mind, is this something you want to start fixing now? Or is it still something you want to fix 3 to 4 months from now? They're going to be like, yeah, I want to fix this now. Like, let's do it. All right? So most of the time, that solves the objection. If they still say, like, no, I want to do this in 3 to 4 months, then I would just end the call right there and tell them to reach back out to you when they do make this a priority. All right? So once they admit it's a priority, then you just want a couple more things. And so I'll say, like, and I know you want to fix this now, but how committed are you to making this happen? Right? And this just really builds a more emotional commitment. Like, I'm like a 12 out of 10 committed, 10 out of 10 committed. Like I quit my job for this, or like I'm so invested in this. Like this is my whole life. Like it really gets people to open up on how committed they are, which is a good thing for later in the call. So I definitely recommend this question. And then finally, this is going to be this question right here either makes or breaks a sale. All right. So we want to find out how much they have saved up, because that way we could eliminate the I can't afford it objection. Because when you know how much they have saved up, you can offer them a payment plan, or you can offer them a higher level package based on how much their budget is, compared to you not knowing their budget at all, giving them an offer, and then them saying, I can't afford it, right? So we want to find out how much they have saved up, but the tricky part to this is that saved up is a personal question, right? It's not exactly a comfortable question to tell another person how much you have saved up, but we need that information to get the sale. So here's the best way to frame it. And it's not only about what you say, but it's about how you say it. So I want you to imagine like you have like a 2-year relationship and you guys get in an argument with your partner. And you need to make sure that he or she understands your thoughts, and you want to make sure this goes as smooth as possible. So you want to show that you care about them as much as possible, right? So think of that scenario right here. And you want to talk in that depth, in that tone of voice, like really, really like soft, really, really caring, really, really like open. So that's the type of tonality that you want. So here's basically how it sounds. So I have one last question for you, and I know this could be super touchy and super personal, but for me to really understand how to get you from point A to point B, like I really need to understand point A first. So with that being said, like how much do you have saved up right now to invest in yourself today? So do you guys see how I did that? I was like a lot more softer, a lot more caring, a lot more empathetic. You know what I'm talking about? So a lot more like of a soothing, caring voice. And that's the type of tonality you want, right? Like if I were to say this in like a loud voice like I am right now, like so I have one last question for you, and I know this can be super touchy and super personal, but for me to understand how to get you from point A to point B, like you guys see how it's not caring anymore. And they're probably not going to tell you how much they have saved up. So you really want to be like very empathetic, very caring, very soothing to get them to admit how much they have saved up. So again, so I have one last question for you, and I know this can be super touchy and super personal, but again, for me to really understand how to get you from point A to point B, like I really need to understand point A first. All right, so listen to that tonality over and over because it's really, really important. All right. All right, so once they admit how much they have saved up, then we can move on, but do not move on with the script unless they tell you how much they have saved up. Because I promise you, you're not going to get the sale unless you know how much they have saved up. It would be kind of like I hate to say this, like in a good program, but it would be kind of like going for the home run with your partner without kissing them first. You know what I'm talking about? Like there's steps to this that you have to take in order to get to the final destination. And that's exactly the same thing here, right? It'd be like trying to drive a car without getting a permit first. It would be like trying to, it would be like trying to ride a bike without riding with the training wheels first, right? Like we need that first little step to get to the end destination. So we need to know how much they have saved up, right? So let's say they aren't uncomfortable admitting how much they have saved up. Like let's say they're like, well, it depends on what I'm buying, or it depends on what this is. I'd be like, yeah, absolutely, name. Like I would never want you to commit to something you haven't seen before because that's not real. But let's say I were able to get you to resolve in the next blank days. Would you be able to justify investing, or or how much would you have saved up if, of course, or how much would you have saved up to invest in yourself today if, of course, everything made sense to get you to that resolve, right? So again, let's say you want them to, or let's say they want to go to 160 pounds. I'd be like, yeah, Sarah, of course. Like I would never want you to commit to something you haven't seen before because that's not real. But let's say I were able to get you to 160 pounds in the next 90 days, right? Would you be able, or how much would you be able to justify investing in yourself today if, of course, everything made sense later on this call to get you to that 160 pounds, all right? So again, we want to frame it like it's like an investment, right? Like they're spending this amount of money to actually get that result. They're not just spending this money for nothing, they're spending this amount of money to get that result. And then 9 times out of 10, they normally tell them how much they have saved up or 9 times out of 10, they normally tell you how much they have saved up after that question, right? Again, do not move on until you find out how much they have saved up. Because again, if you don't know how much they have saved up, you're not going to know, or you're not going to know what to offer them. They're going to tell you they can't afford it, and it's just not good, okay? So do not move on without, again, knowing how much they have saved up. Okay, so now that we finished the roadblock script, let's go over the roadblock timer. So again, you're going to ask them what's slowing them down. You're going to ask them what's stopping us from doing this on your own. Impact of current situation. Right? Is this a priority? Are they committed? And then finally, saved up. Okay? So that is the roadblock framework. So let's go, so this right here, we call it stretching the gap. And so I don't know if I went over in this video already, or if I don't know if I went in a previous video, but again, the reason why people buy is because they're at point A, they want to be at point B, and they have no idea how to go from point A to point B. And your job is to be the vehicle to get them from point A to point B, right? But they're not going to buy if this point A to point B isn't wide enough, right? So we want to stretch that gap, which is exactly what the current situation, the desired situation, and the roadblocks do, all right? And so this part right here should take about 15 minutes, right? 5 minutes for current situation, 5 minutes for desired situation, and then 5 minutes for roadblocks. All right, so now that we stretched the gap, now it's time to actually get hired, right? So we're gonna call this hired, right? And here's how we do it. We're gonna recreate what they said. Wow, I'm really bad at handwriting when I'm doing horizontal. 1 second, guys. All right, so now that we got over their situation, where they want to go, and what's slowing them down, then we're going to recreate everything they said. Recreate. We're going to do what we call a format pill. Then we're going to do silence plus double opt-in. So to be honest with you guys, most of the heavy lifting has already been done, but this part is still really, really important, so we can't sleep on this part, okay guys? So what is to recreate? So if you guys remember the #1 rule of marketing, right? The more your prospects feel like you understand them, the more they automatically assume you have the answers. So I'm going to repeat that one more time. The more your prospects feel like you understand them, the more they automatically assume you have the answers. Why is this powerful? Because they literally told you everything about their current situation, where they want to go, and what's slowing them down. So all you have to do to show that you understand them is literally repeat everything that they just said. So here's what you do. So I think I have a pretty clear understanding of where you are right now, where you want to go, and what's slowing you down. And then just restate everything that they just said, right? Restate the why, restate the current situation, restate the desired situation, restate the roadblock. So here's how it would work. I would be like, so like right now you reach out to me because you really, really wanted to improve your body, improve your life, and you're just tired of the way you looked. And like right now you're at like about 180 pounds. you don't really look that good in a bikini, you're not really confident in yourself, you don't really feel attractive, and you know if you stay in the situation, then you're not gonna feel, or you know if you stay in the situation, you're gonna feel really shitty about yourself, and you're gonna let a lot of your family members down. But where you want to go is you want to feel more attractive, you want to feel more confident, you want to feel more alive, look good in a bikini, etc. And you know you're gonna achieve that if you get to 160 pounds. What's really slowing you down is that you just don't know where to start, you don't really have the right plan, but you are committed to making this happen, and this is a priority for you. Does that all sound about right, or did I miss something? All right, boom. So what do you like? This whole summary right here literally does the selling for you, right? So this summary makes the sale right here. Obviously, you're gonna have to do better. You're still gonna have to do good or do well on the rest of the script, but this recreate is where 80% of the selling happens. So once you really show that you understand them, they just automatically assume that your product is the right fit for them. Okay, so really, really important on this part. All right, and for recreate, again, all you have to do is restate their why they reach out, current situation, desired situation, and then roadblocks. Okay, so let's talk about the 4 magic pill. All right, so the 4 magic pill is basically its own diagram, so I'm just going to draw it out right now for you guys right here. And then we're taking this down over here. All right, so here's what the 4 magic pills look like. All right, and so there's basically 4 major parts to your offer, or how you explain your offer that's going to make it look really, really appealing and not confusing and not overwhelming. So here's how it goes. We're going to talk about goals. We're going to talk about, we're going to frame your triangle, your offer triangle. We're going to talk about logistics. And then we're going to talk about pricing. Oh, that is a terrible dollar sign. 1 second, guys. Okay, so let's go over it right now. So once you recreate, then you're just going to simply ask for goals. So is it cool if I tell you what we do and how we can help? Right? So is it cool if I tell you what we do and how we can help? All right? And they're going to say, yep, of course. I'll be like, okay, as you can tell from my Instagram, I am the blank, so whatever your title is. Basically, whatever your first 2 lines on your Instagram profile are, repeat those lines. So example, if you're like a transformation coach and you help people lose weight through customized online coaching or through customized online coaching, it would be like, so as you can tell from my Instagram, I'm the transformation coach, helping people achieve their dream body through customized coaching and workout plans, or something like that. Or like for me, like I like to say, as you can tell from my Instagram, I run the #1 rated Instagram marketing agency, helping online personal trainers hit 10K a month by growing client-generated Instagram. Right, so it's whatever the first 2 lines in your bio are from Module 4. Basically, it's your title and then your resonating message. All right, once you do that, so before I get into the specifics of how exactly we can help, I want to make sure our goals are aligned. I want to help you hit blank in the next blank days by blank. Are you okay with that? So it's basically your 5-1-30. I want to help you hit result in the next number of days by process or by unique mechanism. Are you okay with that? This is why your resonating message is really, really important for Module 2, because as you can tell from Module 4 and this module, we use it everywhere, right? So again, it's basically just your resonating message. I want to help you get result in the next number of days by unique mechanism. Are you okay with that? Right? So that is for goals. So let me check that off here. All right, so number 2, let's talk about the triangle. So the best way to explain your offer is actually to present it as a triangle, okay? So basically, the triangle, there's a middle, and then there's 3 unique pillars on top left, top right, and middle, right? So we already did the hard work, right? The middle is gonna be your unique mechanism, and then your 3 unique pillars are your 3 sides are just gonna be your 3 unique pillars, again, for Module 2, right? So here's how I say it. All right, so before you even try to explain so first you say like, hey, do you have a pen and paper with you, by the way? They'd be like, yep. And then if they don't have a pen and paper, just tell them to get one, right? And then if they still can't get one, just tell them to pull up their notes app and then just make a headline and 3 bullet points, right? But if they do have a pen and paper, tell them to draw a big triangle for you in the middle, right blank, on the top left, right blank, on the top right blank, and then on the bottom, right blank. Whatever your unique mechanism, your 3 unique pillars are, okay? All right, and then once they draw the triangle or once they write the headline and the 3 bullet points on their phone, Then you're going to say, before I get into the specifics of the entire triangle, or before I get into the specifics of the bullet points, I just want to make this really, really clear. Like, I'm a big believer in alignment and congruence. So everything I'm going to show you in the triangle right here is exactly what we do for our own business, because we would never show or teach anybody anything we haven't done or mastered ourselves. Does that make sense? Right? They say yes. Like, oh, of course, I like that. That makes total sense. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? Once they say, yep, that makes sense, then you're just going to explain the 3 unique pillars. Okay? So here's what to do, right? You want them to conclude on their own why it's important and briefly explain what it is, okay? So how do we explain, or how do we get them to conclude on their own? Through questions, metaphors, stories, or quotes, okay? And then briefly explain what it is. So I'll give you guys an example, all right? Because I know a lot of people get confused on this. If you're still confused after this video, hop on a Q&A call, and I can definitely help you out, be a little more specific for your specific offering. But let's say you're trying to do customized workout plans as your unique pillar number 1. I'd be like, or customized meal plans as your unique pillar number 1. Then I'd be like, okay, awesome, man. So let's go over the first pillar, customized workout plans. All right. So, John, like you agree with me, like everybody's body is different, right? 100%. Like you agree with me, like no 2 bodies are the same, right? So then you agree with me, like most, like the same workout plan for one person probably isn't going to work for the other person, right? 100%. So do you see why most diet plans don't work? They'd be like, oh, I totally get it because everybody's body's different. 100%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to customize your diet plan specifically for your body, your metabolism, etc., to make sure that you actually see results with the meal plan or results with the diet plan. Does that make sense? I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Let's say. So do you guys see what I did there? Like I use questions. No 2 bodies are different. I kind of use a quote there, a metaphor. It wasn't really a metaphor, but yeah, I use a lot of questions and I use a lot of quotes, right? So let's do another one. Let's say accountability, right? So I would use a story for this one. So for let's say for extreme accountability. So like, do you remember growing up, John? Did your mom ever like make you brush your teeth? He was like, yeah, she did. I was like, so like, does your mom still brush your teeth? Or does your mom still tell you to brush your teeth? I'm like, no, it doesn't. So do you see what she did there? Like she made that external accountability to build internal habits, and then once that internal habit is internalized, now you don't have to do anything, or now you don't need her to remind you, right? They'd be like, right? So 100%. So we're going to do the same thing for you. We're going to make sure that we build, or we have that external accountability for you, so that you build those internal habits, and then once you build those internal habits, then you're not going to need us anymore, and it can be hands off, and you're going to have those lifestyle habits to maintain a healthy body and maintain your dream physique. Does that make sense? Boom. So for that unique pillar, I would use a story. All right, and guys, this is all hypothetical offers. Obviously, do not copy this word for word. Use your own unique pillar. Use your own questions, metaphors, stories, and quotes. I'm just giving you guys examples. All right, and then let's say for unique pillar number 3, let's say, let's talk about, let's see, let's say sustainable, let's say a sustainable workout plan. Then for a sustainable workout plan, I'd be like 100%. So John, I could give you like the best workout plan in the world. You could feel amazing, but if you're not able to stick with it, it's probably not going to matter, right? Yeah, 100%, right? Like let's say we're trying to be good at basketball. You're not going to be good at shooting. You're not going to be shooting like Steph Curry in like one day, right? It takes time, right? 100%. So if we really want to see results, we got to build a plan for you that you can actually stick to for months upon months while it being effortless. Does that make sense? All right, sweet. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to make a program so that it's really, really easy, so that you can stick to it for months on months. So you don't have to think about it. It could be effortless, and so that we could build that dream physique over time instead of trying to get it in one day. Does that make sense? And then boom. So you guys see what I'm doing here. I'm not telling them why it's important. I'm getting them to conclude on their own why it's important through questions, metaphors, stories, or quotes. So I hope those examples helped. If you want more specific examples, hop on a Q&A call, and then we can go over your unique pillars and how we can make how we can make those questions more customized toward you. All right? And then remember, briefly explain. Don't explain how to do it. Don't give them the specific meal plan. Don't give them the specific workout plan or whatever it is. Just tell them briefly what you're going to do. You don't have to over-explain it. Less is more. And that's it. Okay? So once you explain your unique pillars by explaining why it's important or getting to conclude why it's important, and get into and briefly explaining what to do, not how to do it. And then we go over logistics. All right, so let me go ahead and check off the triangle. Okay, so we're almost done, guys, I promise you. So for logistics now, one last second. So this part right here, goals and the triangle, this explains why and what. Now for logistics and price, it's time to talk about how. All right, so here's how we're going to talk about the how. So for logistics, this is going to apply to basically everybody, but if the plan, the tools, or help, or anything I go over in the logistics side of things doesn't match your program, feel free to change the script to match your specific logistics and your specific program, right? But this is like the type of logistics I recommended in the module 3, so I kind of recommend doing the same thing, right? So I would say so for this to work, it sounds like you need about 3 things. Number 1, it sounds like you need a plan so you know what to do. Number 2, it sounds like you need tools to implement the plan. And then finally, number 3, it sounds like you need help just in case you ever get stuck. So for the plan, each side of the triangle is all done with you. So I'm going to be right by your side every step of the way. All you have to do is just listen to what I say, take notes, and actually implement. Does that make sense? Be like, yeah, that makes sense. And then I'll be like, sweet. For the tools, we have our twice a week live coaching calls as well as our blank program. So you can say as well as a transformation program, as well as our fitness program, as well as our movement program. Whatever category your program is in, example, if you're in the dating niche, our dating program, or if you're in the life niche, our life program, whatever it is, say our blank program, so you know exactly how to use side 1, side 2, and side 3 to get you to resolve. Does that make sense? So example, if you're a fitness coach, I'd be like, for the tools, we have our twice a week live group coaching calls as well as our transformation program. So you know exactly how to use our external accountability, our customized meal plan, and our sustainable workout plan to get you to your dream body, or to get you to 8% body fat, or to get you to tone up, or to get you to build muscle, whatever it is. Does that make sense? They say yes. And then for help, I'm like, finally for help, you'll have access to my personal number. So any question you have at all, you can text me anytime, and I can respond within 5 minutes to an hour. Does that make sense? They say yes. All right. If you have a community, then amazing. You could say, on top of that is we have my private VIP Discord community. We have a ton of clients who are super active who would love to connect with you and would love to be with you. Or if you have clients winning like I do, and you have clients absolutely killing the game, you can go one step further and be like, so I don't know if you've been watching my stories or seeing my client results, but I have clients killing it every single day in my client Discord community. And so any question you have at all, you can hit up the Discord community, and a ton of my clients would love to help you out. And on top of that is you agree with me, environment is destiny, right? You are who you hang around with, right? So what do you think is going to happen to you if you join my community, see a ton of my clients killing it, blah, 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 hitting records, blah, 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 or getting wins, whatever specific to your industry, what do you think is going to happen to you? They're going to be like, well, I want to do the same. I'll be like, 100%. Getting a result is no longer going to be a dream to you. It's going to be a standard. You're going to be very, really disappointed if you don't hit, whatever the result is. If you don't hit result, just because you see everybody else doing it. Does that make sense? All right, so that's really, really powerful if you already have clients winning in your community. If you don't, no sweat. Feel free to just use your personal number for help for now, and then eventually transition into the community pitch instead. Okay, let's keep going, and then, all right, so then once you go to plan, tools, help, you're gonna say any questions at all about the plan, the tools, help. Oh, I totally forgot. One last thing is you want to ask if they have any questions about the triangle before you move into logistics. Totally forgot about that. Apologize, guys. Any questions at all about the entire triangle? So yeah, just to recap, guys, I apologize for a little late notice, but when you explain the entire triangle, make sure you don't move on to the logistics until you answered all their questions, right? Because sometimes you're going to have some questions about the triangle. Most of the times you're going to say it's pretty clear. Just in case, make sure you ask if they have any questions about the entire triangle, and then answer all the questions before moving on to logistics. All right, I apologize for late notice. But then yeah, once you explain the plan, the tools, and the help, you're going to ask them, so any question at all about the plan, the tools, or the help. All right, and then again, do not move on until all questions are answered and they understand everything about the triangle and everything about the logistics with the plan, the tools, help. Because a confused mind, guys, will never buy. So again, really, really important. Do not move on unless you answered all their questions. All right, so once you answer all their questions, then I love this question right here. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, from like this might be something I'm interested in to this is amazing, I'd love to get started right now. Where are you feeling right now? All right, so we would hope if we did our job right, we will get a 10, right? And once we get a 10, we got them. It's going to be smooth sailing from there. But if we don't get a 10, we got to handle more objections, right? So why do we do this? It's so that we don't get objections when we state the price. Because once we state the price and they say no to the price, we've already lost. Or it's going to be a hard uphill battle. But if we're able to handle objections before we state the price, we have a lot more power because they don't know how much, they don't know what the price is. So we increase the value and the value and the value of the offer to the point where when we do state the price, it's going to be a no-brainer, right? But that's never going to happen if they know the price first and then we try to handle objections. So really, really important, we try to handle as much objection handling as possible before the price so that it's smooth sailing later on. So again, we use this 1 to 10 question to get there. So if they're below a 10, all we simply do is just ask them like, what's really holding you back from being a no-brainer 10 out of 10 right now? Right? So if it's anything about the program, anything about the logistics, handle the objection. Mostly it's a logistical question most of the time. Or if they say it's like price, or like if they say like, oh, just finances, I don't know if I can afford it, I would just say like, okay, like finances aside, like would this be like finances aside, let's say you were able to afford this, would it be a 10 out of 10? And then 9 times out of 10, they would say yes, if it was just strictly finances. All right, so again, do not move forward until there are no-brainer 10 out of 10 finances aside. Else you're probably not going to get the sale because they're going to have some type of objection holding them back. All right, so that is logistics. And then finally for price, and then here's what I always say, be prepared to go to war with handling objections, right? Because this is where you're going to get a lot more hesitancy because of price. Ideally, in a good world, like they're just going to pay no problem, but occasionally you're going to have objections. So if you want to make the most amount of money possible, be prepared to go to war with objection handling. All right, so here's how we do it. So just to re-emphasize, this is something you want to do now and not 3 or 4 months from now, right? They say, yup. And again, the reason why we do that is because we don't want them to say, oh, this isn't a priority for me. Like, I want to do this later. I want to think about it. We want them to admit it's a priority so that they don't push the decision off for later, okay? So once they say it's a priority, I'll be like, awesome. So would you like to know what it would look like for you in terms of investment to move forward to reach result by process? So example, would you like to know the investment to move forward to get your dream body through customized coaching, or to feel alive with a customized meal plan, or whatever it is, right? You'll be like, sweet. So it's a blank month program, and it's only blank to get started, right? So this really depends on if you're offering a payment plan or paid in full. Okay, so let's say you're offering a 3-month paid in full for $1,500. I'd be like, sweet. So it's a 3-month program, and it's only $1,500 to get started, and then you shut up. Or like, let's say it's a payment plan. I'll be like, it's a 3-month program, and it's only 3 monthly installments of $500. Right? So you just want to state like how long the program is, and then you also want to state how much it is. Okay. So if let's say you have like a monthly retainer type thing, or like they're paying you on the month, then you could say like, sweet. So operate on a month-to-month basis, and it's only $500 per month. All right. So do you guys see where I'm going here? So that's how you state your price. And then really, really key, once you state the price, shut the fuck up, all right? I apologize for cursing, but do not say anything, right? Wait for them to respond. Because it's like Jordan Belfort says, whoever talks first loses, right? If you state your price and then you say something afterwards, you already lost your power, you don't seem as confident, and you don't seem like you're worth the value, right? You want to be high status, you want to be high value, state your price confidently, shut up, and wait for them to respond. I don't care if it takes a minute. I don't care if it takes 5 minutes. I don't care if it takes 10 minutes, right? You don't say anything until they respond, all right? Like I've had calls where I would wait there for like 5 minutes in total silence, and then eventually the guy went through and paid, but it would never have happened if I didn't stay silent, right? Because the reason for that is because people like are processing the price, they're processing the value, and sometimes if you try to talk in between that thinking process, you interrupt that thought process, and now they immediately go to no, right? People's default is no and not yes. So we don't want to interrupt that thought process, that buying process. So just say the price confidently, shut up, and then wait for them to respond. Okay? If they say okay, so sometimes you're not going to get a yes or a no, you're going to get an okay. So if you get an okay, put the ball. The reason why people say okay is because they want you to say something. So here's what I do. If they say okay, I'll just be like, sweet, so what do you think we should go from here? So now the ball is right back on their court, and they either give me a yes or a no. Another thing is if they ask, are you still there? Like sometimes if you don't talk for like a 1 or 2 minutes straight, they're going to be like, wait, are you still there? I'll be like, yeah, I'm still here. And then I'll shut up. Because I want them to give me a definitive yes or no, or I want them to give me the objection. All right? So again, don't say anything until they say a yes or a no. And again, if you don't accept anything besides a yes or a no anyway. All right? So again, shut up, wait for them to respond, and you're going to see the best results right there. Okay? So that is price. And we kind of just went over silence. All right, so now let's go over the last part, which is the double opt-in. So I'll be going over objection handling in Module 9 in the next module, but there are some couple last scenarios that I want to cover if they say yes, that you still might lose the sale, okay? So a big misconception a lot of people have is they think once they get a yes, you send the payment link and they're going to pay and it's going to be smooth sailing. And sometimes it's going to be like that, but oftentimes what you're going to find is just because someone says yes doesn't mean they're going to go through with it, right? Sometimes we've had clients, like a lot of, or not a lot, but like some of my clients ask you like, my prospect said yes, but they hung up the phone on me, or my prospect said yes, I sent them the payment link and then they just ghosted me. Why? Because one yes is not enough, guys. Just because someone said yes doesn't mean they're going to go through with it. How do we actually get them to go through with it? We need to get them to say yes multiple times. We need a confident yes. We need to get them to commit, right? So here's what we do. All right, so if they say yes confidently, I'm just going to say, I'm sorry, what? So example, if I say $2,500 to get started, they say, yeah, let's do it. I'll be like, I'm sorry, what? And they'll be like, yeah, let's do it. So you see how they say it louder and they say it again. What does this do? It makes them more committed and more invested into actually going through with it. Right? So that's if they say a confident yes. But what happens if they say yes, but they don't sound that sure? Like let's say they're like, yes, or like, maybe, or like, yeah, let's do it. Right? So they say an uncertain yes, here's what I do. I say, are you sure? Like, you don't sound very certain. Like, I don't want you to do this unless you're 100% sure, because we're going to help you, but I'm going to need you to trust us and our expertise, or trust us and our expertise. All right? You wait for the response. They say like, no, like, yeah, like, I'm sure, let's do it. And then I'll be like, just to make sure, you're not going to get back to me tomorrow and change your mind, right? Like, no, like, I really, really want to do this. Because if that's the case, I don't want to waste your time, and I definitely don't want to waste my time. But like, no, like, I really, really want to do it. Let's go through with it. All right? And I'll be like, gotcha. So would you be opposed if we move forward right now on this call? And then boom, you got them. So do you see how, as you keep asking these questions, you keep making them commit, they're more and more invested, and they're more likely to go through with the payment. They're more likely to go through actually closing the deal, or actually paying you the money, right? So again, we need to make sure that they're committed, right? You can't just settle for one yes. You need multiple yeses, either with the I'm sorry, what? Or we call it the yes 3 times, where you say, are you sure? Or you're not going to get back to me tomorrow and change your mind. That's because I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. Again, we want to make them say yes as many times as possible, okay? Because again, one yes is not enough. We need multiple yeses for them to go through with it. All right, so you can either take this advice seriously or you can learn it the hard way, and I'm going to tell you I told you so. Either one goes with me, but I promise you, don't skip this step and you're going to save yourself a lot of heartbreak. All right, so now let's talk about securing the payment. All right, so once you say gotcha, so would you be opposed to moving forward right now on this call? They say yes. Sweet man, so I just sent you the payment link in the DMs, so just go ahead and pay right now on this call, and I'll let you know all the onboarding steps on this call as well, so we can hit the ground running and get you to that result, so you can hit the, or so we can get you to results, so you can hit aspirations as fast as possible. So example, just go ahead and pay right now on this call, and I'll let you know all the onboarding steps on this call as well, so we can hit the ground running to get you to that dream body as possible, so you can look good, feel more alive, feel more confident, and really be a better spouse as fast as possible. Sound good? They say, yep. And then don't talk until they pay. All right? I know this is going to be a little awkward, and I know this is going to be very, very like nerve-wracking, right? Sometimes it takes like a minute. Ideally, it takes like 30 seconds. Sometimes it takes all the way from 3 to 5 minutes, right? But when they're paying through the payment link or when they're paying through the invoice or whatever it is, shut up, wait for them to respond, or shut up. Only talk when they're asking you questions, because you could say a lot of dumb things, right? It's a lot more safe to just not say anything, wait for them to respond or wait for them to pay, and then once they pay, you can give them a nice word of welcome. But if they don't, but if you say things while they're paying, it could make them change their mind. And again, we don't want to risk anything. All right. So again, just like when you say the price, shut the fuck up. Anytime they're going through the payment plan, or anytime they're going through the payment link or the invoice, because again, you don't want to mess the sale up. All right. So once they actually pay, right, you're gonna send your onboarding text first. If you guys want an example of good onboarding text, just look at, like, you onboarded with Growthology, obviously. Look at our onboarding DM. Look at our onboarding email, whatever it is, right? And then try to model like our onboarding text toward your specific industry, with in terms of like the community, and in terms of like the program. Okay. So you're gonna send the onboarding text first, and then you're gonna be like, John, congratulations, super excited to be a part of your one. I'm super excited for you to be part of ours. So here's how it's going to work from now. I'm just going to explain all the onboarding steps. And then once you explain all the onboarding steps, you're going to ask if they have any questions. Once it's all clear, then you're going to be like, one last thing, we're going to make your next success story. Is that right? You're going to be like, hell yeah, let's do it. I'll be like, haha, absolutely, John. We'll talk very soon. Have an amazing day. And then hang up the phone and you close the deal. Okay? One thing I will say, though, is this is really, really important in terms of client retention. Like, the first impression when someone actually buys your program or invests in your program is literally going to make or break if they stick with your program, if they're going to ask for a refund, or they're going to be super, super happy with your program. First impression, like we've been always preaching in this program, is super, super key. So when they onboard, their first thought process is like, holy shit, like I actually paid, like, is this the right decision? So you want to ingrain in their mind right from the start, this is the right decision. So that means you got to onboard them like full of energy, full of passion. And then you want the future pace them, right? So there's a reason why we explained the onboarding process. And there's a reason why we say we're going to make you our next success story, because we want to future pace them into what's ahead instead of letting them dwell on what they just did. Do you see what I'm saying here? So again, this is really, really key in client retention. Future pace them and let them know the onboarding steps, so that they don't really like think about like, oh, I just paid a lot of money, like I don't know if I made the right decision. The more we future pace them, the more they get excited what's to come, and the better first impression they have, so that they actually love your program. All right. So a couple more things, guys. I promise we're almost done here. If they ask for onboarding info or logistics before they pay, right? So example, let's say it's $2,500 to get started, and then they say like, can I, like, what's the details or what's the logistics? Usually it's just like a BS excuse, so we handle that objection as well. So I'll say like, we can go over all the logistics and details, but first of all, I want to make sure I've heard you correctly. Is this something you want to do? Yes or no? They say like, yeah, I want to do this. I'm sorry, what? They say, I'm sorry, what? Yeah, I want to do it. And then you go over the onboarding info. Okay. So again, onboarding info, logistics, it's just so that you handle the objection, right? 9 times out of 10, if they ask for info and logistics before they've actually paid, it's mostly like a smoke screen or trying to buy them some time to not pay, right? So you want to get them to commit first before letting them know the logistics. Because again, you might confuse them with the logistics, and they might switch their mind if they don't commit up front first, okay? So a couple more things, guys. Last thing is, we're going to go over objection handling in the next module, but just in case, if you want to start taking calls right now and you want like the basic framework, here's how it basically works. Okay, how to actually handle any objection is just 3 things. Number 1 is silence, wait like 3 to 7 seconds before answering. 2, agree with what they said, and then 3, shift their frame through questions, stories, metaphors, or quotes. So the reason for silence is because if we try to respond right away, like let's say like, oh, it's too much, like, no, it's not too much, whatever it is, compared to like, it's too much. Okay, why is it too much? All right, do you see the difference there? Like, it shows we're non-reactive, it shows we're not pushy, it shows that we really value what we're worth, we're confident in our value, right? So that's why we wait 3 to 7 seconds before answering. then we agree with them, like, I totally understand, it is a lot of money, I totally understand, like, it's important to think about it, I totally understand, it's important to talk to your partner, and then shift their frame through questions, stories, metaphors, and quotes. So I'm not going to go over this in today's video, or in this video right here, but it will be in the next module when we talk about objection handling. All right, and then a couple last things is, here's like some common objections, just in case, again, you want to be taking calls right away, is, let's say, the most common objection you're going to get, if you do our script correctly, is, I need some time to think about it. I don't make decisions on the call. I want to look over my finances. So here's my go-to answer. I'll be like, gotcha, name. I totally get it. Like, it's really important to make an informed decision, right? Be like, yeah, like, exactly. I'll be like, but you told me you would give me a definitive yes or no at the beginning of this call, right? Be like, yeah, I guess. So the reason I do that is because what I found is that my clients who win are the ones who take action immediately instead of waiting and pushing things off toward tomorrow. How you do one thing is how you do everything. If I let you push off this decision for tomorrow, then I'm already letting you down by building that bad habit of pushing your dreams off toward later instead of taking action and seeing results right away. And that's the last thing I want you to do. Does that make sense? They say, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So where do you think we should go from here? Right? If they still say, like, oh, I'm not that type of person, like, I want to look over my finances, I'll be like, okay, I totally get it, man. It's super important to be financially cautious, right? And they're like, yeah, exactly. So what would make this a complete no-brainer for you to do, right? And so most of the time, if they are financially cautious, it's mostly just like a risk factor. So if you're really, really confident in your program, exactly like we are in Mythology, like we know every single client who onboards with us goes through our program, they're going to love it. If you're really, really confident, then go with this last resort option. You can offer a $250 1-week refundable deposit to get program access and see what's inside. Okay, they're not going to get any community access. They're not going to get the full support, but we put the money where our mouth is. So we're so confident you'll love our program that'll be a no-brainer for you to continue after 1 week. And if not, then just within the week, just let us know you want out, and we'll refund you right away. Fair enough, right? So again, this just takes the risk out of the investment, right? So they could like take a quick pick or a quick peek. They could get their 250 right back within a week. But if your program is really, really good, that should never even be a problem anyway. And you should have like around a 90% conversion rate from a 250 1-week refundable to an actual close, right? So one thing to remind you guys is don't use this as a crutch, right? Don't go for 250 1-week refundables because it's easy to do. Go for the paid in full first. Go for the non-refundable. Make sure you go for the full payments, guys. And only go for the 1-week refundable if, of course, like everything else didn't work, right? Because it's a lot better to get 2,500 straight up non-refundable than to get just simply a 250 refundable and have to wait like a week to get the actual paid in full. You guys see what I'm saying here? Cash flow is really, really important. So again, don't use this first. Use this as a last resort. And then I totally forgot. Once they say fair enough, then you say, would you be opposed to getting started right now on this call? All right. Okay, and then last thing to go over in this video. I know it's been a long one, guys. I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Last thing is, the second most common objection is, I need to transfer the money. I'm going to have to call the big blah, blah, blah BS to get the full amount. So here's what we do. I'll be like, gotcha, name. Quite a bit of my clients who've onboarded with me didn't have the full amount on the call either. So let me ask you this. How committed are you to making this happen? She's like, oh, I'm super committed. Like, I want to do this. I'll be like, so would you be opposed to putting down a $250 deposit on this call? You won't get the community access for full support until you're fully paid, but you'll get program access right away so you can hit the ground running ASAP. Build that habit of taking action now instead of later and not have to wait until the funds are fully transferred to start taking action. Fair enough? Be like, yeah, fair enough. All right, sweet. So cool if I shoot you over the payment link to the deposit in the DMs and then close the deal from there. All right. So that is pretty much it for the closing call framework and the script. Let me see if I got this here. So for the silence and double opt-in, again, you're either going to do the I'm sorry what, or you're going to do the yes 3 times script. Right? And then this part right here should take about, try to draw this right here. This part right here should take about 15 to 25 minutes. Right? Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's probably the longest video of the program. But really, really important, if you guys do master what I teach in this video right here, it's going to make you a ton of money. Like for me right now, I'm never in fear of going broke. I'm never in fear of running out of money. I'm never in fear of not being able to pay the bills, whatever it is. I know I have true freedom now because I've mastered this skill right here of being able to talk to anyone on the phone and being able to close them. Right? So again, watch this video multiple times. Watch it 2 times. Watch it 5 times. Watch it 10 times. Right? Watch it every fucking week if you have to, because this closing skill right here, mastering these 9 boxes, mastering the script, is going to make you so much money you have no idea. Okay? So other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next video, and let's keep going.